I will tell you, if somebody would have said over a year ago that I would be running for this U.S. Senate seat, I would say, no, that's crazy. I was never one of those kids that was drawing, American flags or memorizing the Wisconsin Constitution. But as it was mentioned, as a fifth-generation Wisconsinite and as the daughter of two public school teachers, something that my parents taught me very early on in life is that when you see something wrong, you've got to stand up and do something about it. And honestly, that's how I've lived my entire life, whether it was my time at the Pentagon, and you can only imagine a 20-something-year-old walking into the five-sided castle. They gave me a few months. I was there for almost 8 years doing work, whether it was language and culture strategy to addressing morale for the Undersecretary of Defense, and loved it, to my work in microfinance, where we were providing access to capital for women, communities of color, financing green energy products or affordable health care. And it was honestly that work that led me to the state treasurer's office, because I found out that the amount of capital that Silicon Valley gets in one day is what Wisconsin gets in an entire year. And I thought that was wrong. We should be taking care of Main Street, not Wall Street. And that's why I reached out to the state treasurer. I know many of you know that story. They never returned my call. Why? Because remember that guy, Scott Walker? Boo! He tried to get rid of the state treasurer's office because who needs checks and balances in government? I mean, absolutely crazy. And I am proud to say that I led the Save Our Fiscal Watchdog ballot committee, and we stopped together Scott Walker's power grab with 63% of the vote, which is a landslide victory, as many of you know, in the state of Wisconsin. And then I decided to step up and run for that office, and thanks to many of you, I took more of the vote share than the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, and won in Trump counties, because that stuff matters. So what has it been like being state treasurer? It has been wild, because look, our legislature, thanks to Robin Voss, decided not to work for 300 days. In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of an economic crisis, and in the middle of a social justice crisis, they were taking a taxpayer vacation in the time that we needed the most. And so as state treasurer, with no additional resources from the federal government or from the state, I had to be Wisconsin scrappy to help millions of Wisconsinites who were struggling. We provided a special distribution for our public schools so they could buy hotspots, because people were telling me that they were driving their kids to McDonald's because they couldn't access and learn online, to starting a foreclosure prevention fund to keep people in their homes, to literally financing over 180 projects across the state when revenues were down and expenditures were up. And we know that essential services are critical to our front lines and keeping us safe. So I'm doing all of this, and I'm calling Ron Johnson's office. He's like, not my problem, Sarah. It's not bad. I mean, this is insane. We're literally watching this guy take a private plane from Oshkosh, Wisconsin to Washington, D.C., saying Wisconsinites don't need help. He single-handedly upheld $1,400 checks, money for small businesses, and expanding our vaccination program. And if that wasn't enough, we all saw what happened on January 6th. I've got news for Ron Johnson. It was not a peaceful protest. It was a violent insurrection. And so as somebody who has spent their career in national security, who is a fifth-generation Wisconsinite, I just could not sit on the sidelines anymore, and I had to get in this race. And I will tell you, I couldn't be more different than Ron Johnson. You know, as a proud product of Wisconsin public schools, I believe in science. I mean, what a concept. I mean, we right now have a U.S. Senator who says Greenland was green. You know, one of the first actions that I did when I was elected is I overturned a Republican gag order where we couldn't even talk about climate change, and then continued to build on renewable investments that actually in clean water, because it's good for our people and it's good for our economy. You know, as a working mom, I will tell you, paid family leave and affordable childcare are absolutely critical. We know more women are out of the workforce now, and the last time we saw these numbers were in the 1980s. And when I talk to people, they say, well, Sarah, those are nice to have policies. And I'm like, for who? They're critical for the economic security of so many families. And I believe one of the reasons these policies are not front and center is because we need more working moms at the U.S. Senate table. You know, I will also say, as the state's chief financial officer, trickle-down economics does not work. I will say it again. It does not work. I mean, it is crazy that I think about my parents who are public school teachers. They pay a higher percentage in taxes than Jeff Bezos. I mean, what is wrong with this country? Or we know that, you know, Ron Johnson has done everything he can to give corporate tax breaks to fossil fuel industries and to corporations rather than hardworking Wisconsinites. And you know, enough is enough. And the other thing that I will just say, and I don't know about anybody else here, is that I am sick of him legislating by conspiracy theory. We need someone who's gonna actually legislate and focus on kitchen table issues that matter most to us. For example, voting rights. I mean, democracy is under attack every single day, and we are seeing it right here in the legislature. We've gotta get the John Act, and we've gotta get the For the People Act done, or a justice system that works for everybody, or investing in rural Wisconsin, or making sure that we have actually affordable prescription drugs, and the list goes on. But here's what I will say. You know, people will say running for the US Senate is hard, and I don't know if we can beat Ron Johnson. Well, I will tell you, I've been doing hard things my entire life, whether it is working at the Pentagon, saving the state treasurer's office, to stepping up during the pandemic. And I'm gonna do this for Wisconsinites because together, as a Packer fan that was said, I know politics are a team sport. And the only way we can flip this seat is through a grassroots movement where we are all working together. And I believe that together we can do this and flip this seat. So thank you so much for having me. Thanks for spending your Sunday to listen more about this race. And let's do this, Wisconsin.